Okay, well, hello and welcome everybody. We're so grateful that you guys are here tonight. I'm excited to share this information with you. I'm going to pass things over to Peggy to tell you a little bit more about SandCastles, what we're about, and yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Peggy Nielsen. I am the program manager for Henry Ford's SandCastles Grief Support program. Thank you, Kaylee. Kaylee's one of our program coordinators with us, and we are happy to be here to share this information with you and talk about getting through the holidays in grief. So have lots of ideas. Invite you definitely to join our chat box and share your ideas too. We're all in this together, and so let's see what we can learn tonight. Henry Ford SandCastles is a grief support program for families with children between the ages of 3 and 18. We serve kids in a peer support format as well as the adults in their world also. So we are currently running bi-weekly virtual groups for all ages from all the way 3, 4, and 5, all the way up to 18-year-olds. And then there's groups for our parents and guardians also. And then on top of that bi-weekly support, we also have a SandCastles family community that people can join if they're interested in coming to like one-time events like family nights or different activities that we're doing, expressive art series. We also will be running more. We did a virtual grief camp online in August, and we're doing another one coming up in early spring, late winter, early spring. So if you're interested in any of those, please reach out. Our mission truly is to support grieving families in any way that is needed. So we are here for you, whatever it might be. Just give us a call and we're happy to help. And today we're starting with talking about grief and the holidays.
Yes, and before we get started, just wanted to let you know what we've got coming up. So next week, next Thursday, same time, 7 o'clock, we're going to have the second portion of this webinar. Tonight, you're going to learn some different things to talk about as a family to help you through the holiday season, creating a plan, things like that. Next week, we're going to go over some hands-on activities and things that you can do together to remember your loved one who's died and heal together. So again, that'll be next week. If you haven't signed up for that, we'll be sharing the link on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages if you follow those. So be sure to sign up for that if you're interested. And then also, we just wanted to mention really quickly that Giving Tuesday is also coming up soon, shortly after our next webinar. What that is a worldwide initiative for people to support causes that they care about. So we encourage you, if you participate in Giving Tuesday, to think about giving to SandCastles this year. And as I said, go ahead and like us. We're on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So go ahead and give us a like or a follow to learn more about upcoming events and offerings. And with that, we'll get started. So tonight, we're going to walk you through some tips and tricks we have, some advice, things you can talk about as a family to help you get through this holiday season while we're grieving the loss of a loved one. So to start out, and I know Peggy mentioned that we encourage you to use the chat to communicate with us this evening. I think Peggy's going to keep an eye on that and let us know what you guys are sharing. I'm going to start tonight here with a poll. We want to know, going in tonight, how are you feeling going into this holiday season? So I'm going to pull up a poll real quick. We'd love to have you answer this for us and let us know, how are you feeling going into the holidays? Give just a few more seconds for those who haven't voted. Okay. So it looks like right now we've got a few unsures. Definitely sad. At 50% of the people who are watching tonight are feeling sad going into this holiday season. And there are a few that are feeling joyful. So I definitely across the board. I'm sure many of us are feeling a mixture of different feelings as well. And that's okay. And so we wanted to start off tonight getting that feedback from you, to see where you're sitting, joining us tonight, and also to start off letting you know that whatever you are feeling going into this holiday season is okay. Whatever you're feeling is normal. It's normal to feel unsure or sad or some joy, any mix of those feelings going into some special days without a loved one. So I mentioned special days. So what is a special day? This is kind of how we talk about these things at SandCastles. We call many different days special days. And what that is just a day that holds some kind of significance to you or your family. So we've got some listed here that might be a birthday or an anniversary. Maybe it's an annual vacation or a trip that you took, a death anniversary, the date of your loved one's death, holidays, of course, as we'll be talking about this evening, and just any meaningful day or date for your family. And so we talk about these things tonight, these tips and tricks and advice and conversations that you can have to get through the holidays, but we want you to know that what we're going to talk about tonight, you can use with your family, with yourself, through any of these special days, any of these dates that have meaning to you.
It's interesting how the date, that families, I think you really remember. I was sharing with Kaylee earlier that this is actually the anniversary of the day that my dad got in a car accident, had a stroke. It was on November 12th. He died 3 days later. And it just, those dates are like tattooed on your brain sometimes for some people, maybe not everyone, but I think there's a lot of people where those dates become very meaningful. What's interesting or different is that those dates are meaningful for me, but probably none of my friends or, most of my support system doesn't remember that as a date, which is okay. But it's interesting, but I know it. And so as we walk through these different things with our own stories, it's really, it's what we're going to talk about more is about really realizing that, being aware of our own feelings and thoughts and taking ownership of those and responsibility and being kind to ourselves and giving ourselves grace and going in with a plan.
Absolutely. So knowing that special days can be tough for everybody, we here at SandCastles talk a lot. We are a family-based program, so helping children and teens through their grief. Although these are tips and needs, obviously, that all human beings have. We as adults also need the care and support. But we're going to walk through just a few of these. This is kind of a model that we put together some different needs. So things that you can use to help yourself and others, especially children, here through these special days.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll kick it off with the care. So, we care. We are glad that you are here. We're glad to be able to provide this information to you. And maybe a silver lining, which doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of them sometimes of this pandemic, is the ability to connect online in a whole new way that I would have never thought about a year ago, as far as doing virtual groups or connecting with family and friends over Zoom. But this is a great opportunity to utilize this as a tool to help share information and to give support to each other. So we want you to know that we appreciate that you are listening, and we care about you. And part of what we need to do for ourselves, even, and if there's other people in your life who are grieving, is to really just take a moment and remember that there are people who care, and utilize them. So it's important to let your children know that you care and that the family cares. And as you walk through these holidays and these special days, that there are people who are thinking of you and caring about you and wanting to support you. If for whatever reason you feel like that's a little in between and you don't quite have enough of it, please seek out people. There are definitely support groups like SandCastles and other groups out there that are really great places to get peer support and to be surrounded by people who understand what you're walking through, the journey that you're on. So please reach out. If you feel like you need a little bit more of a support system, reach out. There are some wonderful groups out there. There's also some wonderful even apps out there. There's an app that came out I think within the last year it's called AMF, and it's for young adults and teenagers, and it's a great support system for people online. So there's a lot of resources out there. So it's important to find a community and a caring community that is able to support you.
Absolutely. And as Peggy mentioned, that AMF app, if you're searching that, it might show up on the like your app store or the Google Play Store as actively moving forward. But that is a great resource for teens, young adults.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that, I think young adults it's great to have. That's a group that's there's not a whole lot of resources out there for them, and that is an excellent resource that is put together by some people that we know who've been in the field for a long time. So it's a good resource to have and to be able to give out to people when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Lori just posted the link in our chat. So thank you, Lori. So you can get there easily.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes. And the next thing, our next need is our feelings. So understanding and defining one's own feelings. This is especially pertinent in children because I know I even find myself as an adult sometimes struggling to put a name to what I'm feeling. Like, sometimes it's just that like gut feeling. Sometimes our stomach hurts and we're not sure, am I angry? Am I, nervous? Am I, but it's so important with children, one, to know that someone cares about them and to have that person to help them through, understanding what those feelings are and putting a name to them.
Kaylee, as you said that, am I angry? Am I nervous? The other being incredibly transparent right now. The other thing that I find is I will have that sick feeling in my stomach, and sometimes my anxious brain goes to that I'm sick, right? That I have some kind of illness or something. And especially if you've had someone who in your life who has died of an illness, that can even exacerbate that. So that's really important to do that self-care and just kind of stop and breathe and realize that that's, that stomach ache could very well be anxiety or that stress that Kaylee was just talking about with the feelings. And breathe through it. Use your coping skills, use your self-care to kind of really work yourself down. And I find, especially in times of great stress, I really need to do that frequently. Very transparent there.
I think we all do.
Yes.
So our next point here is expression. So now that your child knows someone cares about them and they have a safe place to learn those emotions and label them, they need a place to express them. Adults need places to express their emotions too. But one thing that we talk about at SandCastles with kids that's really important in expressing their feelings is allowing them to play. So finding those times where your child can just go and have fun and be a kid and not have to worry about the stress that they're feeling. And the same with us. We all need breaks. We need time to just be joyful and do things that we enjoy. That play is a really important piece there in that expression.
And support. So we've already given some support. If you have ideas of what has supported you or who has supported you, and support comes in a lot of different ways. I really think it sometimes walks hand in hand with self-care, because we can have support or get support from others. I think we can also support ourselves. So, but it takes work. So that whole element of self-care, and last month we actually did a webinar on self-care. So there's lots of information that's out there on how to take care of yourself And you owe it to yourself. We owe it to ourselves. So this is as much us really realizing that we need to support ourselves, as well as being open to the support that's around us. I do know that sometimes in grief, you have a lot of people saying, "Oh, here, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Just let me know what you need." And sometimes as a griever, I don't know what I need. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to ask for, or I feel like I should be able to do it myself. I'm the parent, or I should be able to handle this. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for that support. And sometimes people think that those are empty words that people say, let me know if you need something. But I think you got to just do a little soul searching. And there may be some people that don't know what to do. And there may be people in your life who really do mean those words and are there to support you. And it is okay to reach out and ask for help. It is okay. It is not failing. It's actually really succeeding and realizing I need it and I'm going to rely on you. Sometimes I reflect, like flip the situation, because if it was them in that spot, I would want to be able to help them. And I would want them to tell me. So if you have somebody in your life who's made that offer, consider taking them up on it. Okay.
So before we jump into some of our tips, we wanted to share a few things that you should know up front. So the first thing is, tonight we're not going to share with you any kind of cookie cutter, one size fits all solution for getting through the holiday season. We're going to throw out some ideas to you. You will have to do the work as a family, as a household, to figure out what's going to work best for you. Try things on for size. We encourage you, your family's needs better than anyone else. So don't compare what you're doing to others. And again, this isn't any kind of one size fits all solution for the holidays.
I do think we wish there was one. I mean, wouldn't it be great if there was that solution that you could just give to people and follow these 12 steps and boom, you're there and you've made it through. So it's unfortunate that there isn't. But knowing that there isn't, I think also we need to recognize that, because it's empowering to know that you can choose whatever it is that your family needs. Part of this whole process is that your family needs to choose what is right for your family, regardless of what anyone else thinks or says or wants or needs. That's our goal as we continue through this webinar. Your family needs to choose what is right and good for your family. So that's what we're going to keep talking about.
Which isn't always easy. So that brings us to our next tip here, is going in, give yourself grace. So knowing that this might not be an easy thing, and allow yourself to make mistakes. We're all human. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to make mistakes, and allow yourself to feel too. Allow yourself, whatever that may be, whether that's to cry, let yourself cry. If you're happy, laugh, or if you're mad, get angry. Just allow yourself to feel those things and give yourself grace through this whole process.
One of the things that we'll probably say again in this webinar, because it's important, is that your feelings are never wrong. It's what you do with them that's important. And that's like a theme at SandCastles. We can't control what our feelings are. I can't control if I'm angry. I can't control if I'm sad. I mean, those feelings come on, and it's more about having that realization of that they're on and what am I going to do with that. And so if you can't control that laugh, that anger, whatever, allow it to be and kind of work to cope with that, and find ways to release that. So giving yourself grace and not judging yourself. It's really important. And we're going to talk more about that as we go on.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of brings us into our next point here. The last two things you need to know: be kind to yourself. So as Peggy mentioned, treat yourself with compassion, give yourself grace, do what feels right to you. Whether that's needing alone time, then take that alone time. Or if you need time to lean on others, take that time to be with others. So being kind to yourself, treating yourself with compassion, giving yourself love is important.
Absolutely.
And then the
There's a big,
last part, which we've kind of talked a little bit about already, is finding support. Again, SandCastles, we're here if you need that kind of support, but also leaning on your friends and family members that you can trust when you need them.
absolutely.
So before we get into our tips, we wanted to just remind you to focus on what's important to you. So we're focusing here tonight, all of these ideas, these conversations on you, your family, whoever's in your household, whoever that may be. And we encourage you, as Peggy mentioned before, to take responsibility for, you know, your household unit, your family, yourself, whoever that is. And so whoever is in your household, this might look different, and it's going to impact these outer circles a little differently. And I think Peggy has a little more to share on that.
Yeah, so we, one of what our SandCastles families and our personal experiences have taught us is that you need to start, as I was saying, finding out for your family what's right for you. Well, who do you define as that core? In our case, it's in this household. If you're inside of your household, who's in your household with you? Those are the people that you're responsible for. If you're a parent, it's your children. Who's in your household? Who's in that core of your grief group, your grief world, I guess. And so those are the people, and I'm going to use like a parent-child as an example. Those are the people who start with. Those are the people you're responsible for. Those are the people that you're grieving together uniquely. You should be grieving uniquely in a household, but grieving together as a family. And so those are the people that we're going to suggest that you start with the conversations that we're going to talk about and work through. Figure out what's happening for them. And then when you make kind of that layer of decision inside of your house, then you take a step outside of that. And that might include your model will look different than others, but it might be a parent and a child inside of the house, and then the next layer out might be grandparents or aunts and uncles and cousins who also have a care and a stake, but it's not the same stake as those living in the household. So you're primarily responsible for figure out who that inner circle is, who you're going to sit down and have these initial conversations we're going to talk about, figuring out what it is that you want to do for the holidays that's going to work for you, and then share that with your outside circle, your next layer, right? And mold that around that. And then there's like another layer outside of that. It might be friends, it might be neighbors. Kind of identify that on the level of importance. Does that make sense, Kaylee?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So thinking about that, going through some of these, some of this advice that we have, these conversations that you'll have as a family or a household.
One of our coworkers, Tim, says he talks the idea of you're standing in your household and who's in your household, and those are the people you're responsible for. And looking in your windows are the people who are on the outside. That might be, other relatives or other family. But focus on who's inside of that house first to make your decisions, and then work with the people on the outside of the windows.
So that brings us to our first piece of advice here for working through the holiday season while we're grieving a loss, and that is to plan ahead. So part of that is looking at the bigger picture here. So what can we do and what can't we do? So we've got our cans and our can'ts. Our cans, we're going to decide as a family what's important for us to do during the holiday season. Are there things that make us excited, things we want to keep, things that we've done before that we want to keep the same way, and figure out what those cans are. And then you can shift over to maybe your can'ts, which I know personally, I'm not someone who really likes the word can't. I have a hard time saying I can't or no. And so one way I kind of reframe this in my mind is to think about like what things can I let go of, or what things can I do differently, and it helps me not have to say can't or no. I know some people that may be easier for, but I know personally that's something I need to work on. But figuring out what those things are, and there's nothing wrong with having can'ts or no's, but determining what those things are as a family that you need to do differently this year or that you can let go of?
I agree. I happen to be similar. It's hard to say no when you're kind of a people pleaser. You want everyone to get along and everyone to be happy, and it's easier to say yes, but it's very, 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 very important to say no when you really need it, especially in grief. You have to stand up for yourself and your family, who's in that household with you. Like, it's okay to say no. And I think anyone who's walked this journey, the families that we've worked with, that's a huge and important element. Figure out what you can say yes to and what you can't, when you have to say no to. And no doesn't mean it has to be forever. Maybe, it's just no for this year.
Mm-hmm. So before you sit down and have these difficult conversations, there are some things that you want to make sure are in place. So you want to make sure that you've created a safe space for everyone in your household or your family to share their feelings openly, to be honest, to feel like they can express those feelings that they're feeling, and creating a space where everyone there knows that their feelings are valid and that everyone is listening and accepting what is being shared. And you want to make sure before going into these conversations, as I said, these are hard conversations. A lot of these decisions, these um, things you're going to walk through aren't going to be easy. So making sure that ahead of time you're anticipating that, this is going to be work and we're going to have to support each other through this work we're going to do together.
We also know that it's not unusual. Actually, it's rather normal, that some kids will protect their parent. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, some kids, that we've seen, don't want to make their parent more sad than they already are. They don't want to make them cry more than they already do. They want to protect them. So they'll do everything and maybe not share their own stuff in order to protect a parent. And it's very loving and caring of them, and special. And I think it's our job as adults to just be aware of that and make sure that we are allowing these kids, or having the discussion with these kids, that it is okay to be sad, that you saying something or you saying your true feelings, that's okay. And that's not there's no judgment. There's no negative. As a matter of fact, Kaylee, I saw on a Facebook post to that today about that, like a good, it was something about a really strong, like, be the strong adult whose children can speak their truths, and that you don't take it personally. And it was referencing that's how you stop, like, intergenerational problems. Like, we have to be honest and open. And so in this case, when we're talking about grief, we know that kids, especially if they have seen their parent in pain, they don't want their parent in more pain. And knowing that if they share their feelings and kind of the hard feelings, it could cause more worry for their parent, and they don't want to worry their parent anymore. We also know as parents that we want to know what's happening with your kids. We want to know. We want to be able to help you. So we don't want you to be scared to share those things. And that's a conversation that's important to have, and something that's important for adults to realize who are working with grieving children.
Mm-hmm. So that brings us into these conversations. So what things should we be talking about as a family heading into these holidays or special days? Well, the first thing that you're going to want to talk about or do is a check-in. Where's everybody at? How are we doing? How are we feeling going into the next couple months? And again, once you've created that safe space, you'll have some sharing on that, figure out where everyone's sitting, and then you can figure out your yays and your nays. So what kinds of things are we going to keep this year? And then what kinds of things are we going to let go of or maybe do a little differently this year? And so we have a tip sheet that after this presentation and the one next Thursday, we're going to send out to anyone who attended, that has a write-up of some of the hard questions to ask in case you're not sure exactly how to go about talking about the changing traditions or food or any of the different things that come with holidays that you can go through as a family and ask yourselves. So look out for that in your email after the next presentation on next Thursday. So now that you have your plan, it's going to be important to, as Peggy mentioned, with our little graphic there with the house and our outer bubbles, to communicate that plan with those people that are in those outer bubbles. So letting your family and your friends know your decisions on your participation in events, whether you're choosing to participate in those things this year or not, your needs for other options or alternatives. So maybe that's letting your family members know that I might get up on Christmas Day and just not feel okay enough to get out the door, and I need that to be okay. So looking for those, communicating those needs for different options, or if something were to happen, communicating those with those outer bubbles. And then the last one is special requests. So maybe you're going to a family dinner or something like that, and maybe your request is that maybe a candle is lit for your person who died on the table at that dinner, or you've set an extra chair that's maybe sitting empty at the table for that dinner. So just different things to think about with your friends, your family, things to communicate.
Kaylee, two things. One, I want to add, the other thing is you plan what that event is, or plan I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to be at this person's house. Know that if what you're doing, what you planned for, if you get there and half an hour later you're realizing it doesn't work, it is okay to change that plan. If you start to do something and it's not working, come up with a new plan. Be honest, speak out. This isn't working. Let's go do something else. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I know that you might not be going to people's houses, which adds a whole other layer of things in the planning for this year. But just know that just because you make a choice today of what you're going to do in 2 weeks for Thanksgiving, it is okay if you guys decide as a family that a week and a half from now that you want to change that choice. Be kind, be gentle with yourself, and go from there. And we do have a question in the question and answer. You want me to give it to you now, or you want to wait a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the one thing I don't know, it's Katie asking this question. If you could let us know how old your child is, that would be helpful. If you, but the question is, my son is constantly saying he doesn't want to bring up his sister because it makes us sad. Even though I'm constantly reassuring him that it's okay to talk about her and it's okay to be sad, he still won't open up. Any suggestions?
I would say, in my opinion, and I'll let Peggy share after me, that as long as you're reassuring him that it's okay and that you're, opening that door, so when he is comfortable to start talking about her, he knows that it's an open and safe space. I feel that he's going to open up in his own time. It may take some time, just like adults, children grieve, and they all grieve a little differently. But I think eventually in time, you'll see that he'll start to process that and maybe open up with you a little more than maybe he is right now.
He is 6.5. She did answer. Thank you for popping that in there. So I think that adding on to what Kaylee has said, it is also about role modeling, and it sounds like you're role modeling really well, letting him know that it's okay to be sad, or it's okay if I'm sad. One of the things is really talking about feelings. One of the things we talk about that it's at SandCastles is that concept of, if it's your feelings are never wrong, what you do with them may or may not be. So as we learn, especially we teach younger kids about feelings, we're teaching them what to do with them. So sad is a natural human feeling. I'm going to feel sad, especially after I've lost someone I've loved so much. That is what happens. Even babies, they say, if you're old enough to love and you lose, you will mourn. Like, you're just going to have that. So even dogs feel sad. We have lots of stories where someone has died, a human or another dog, and you can see that grief process. It's just a human reaction. So by teaching about those feelings, so this is what sad is. Now, what do I do with my sadness? How do I let my sadness out of my body? It's okay to feel sad, but I also don't want to hold that sadness in here, that it's going to do any harm, although sadness is just there. So how do I process that sadness? And some of those tools. So in some of our SandCastles groups, we talk about those ways. For example, we'll give some examples of ways to process that and get them out. Depending on how old they are, first of all, will be a huge component. But there's lots of different ways. As Kaylee said, play is a huge way that kids can work through their grief and work out their sadness. Talking about it, drawing about it. As they get older, they might journal about it. And when we get, how do we feel sadness in our body? So identifying what that is, and what can we do to change the way we feel when we're really, really sad. So sometimes it's reflecting on that sadness and just allowing it to be. And sometimes maybe getting a hug from someone helps me with my sadness. Maybe being able to talk about it helps me with my sadness. Everyone's going to have a different idea. So what you as a mom might have to help you with your sadness might be different than what your son has to help him with his sadness, or anyone else in the family. But starting those conversations of what can we do and how can we support each other might be something to try too.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So the next thing here, which we'll go through kind of quickly, is just to communicate your needs. So recognize when you need help, which can sometimes be difficult, but knowing your own limitations and knowing that it's okay not to be okay is a big part of that. And then once you realize that you need help, whether that's something physical you need help with, or maybe it's emotionally, you need someone to talk to, whatever that is, asking for that help when you need it. So reaching out to your friends, family, people you can trust, let them help lighten your load. Or maybe that's something, again, like with SandCastles, that you're recognizing that the help you need is maybe some grief support, and that's reaching out to some kind of outlet like us to get that support with others who have had shared experiences.
We do have a lot of resources too. Books are a great resource, especially for younger kids, and videos. Sesame Street did a When Families Grieve whole thing. They did a video with Elmo and his cousin, and a lot of resources that they have up on their website. That's a resource that we've used a lot with younger children to talk about the feelings of grief and process that. And I believe that's still all up on their website. And we have a lot of lists of different things books and things that you can use. So always, if anyone is in need, please feel free to reach out, and we are happy to help, as Kaylee said.
So that brings us into our next topic, which is rest. So the importance of sleep, taking a moment to take a break, taking a moment just to pause. So I think we all know how important sleep is. Sleep is so important for our mind, for our body. Our immune systems rely on getting enough sleep. Our memory, how we're functioning through the day. Our responses to stress are different when we're getting more sleep versus when we're not getting enough. So getting that rest that your body needs. Another thing is self-care, which is part of that is saying no, or allowing yourself time to be alone or with others. One, I'll plug here a little bit. We won't go very much into self-care tonight, but if you're looking for some tips on self-care right now, we do have a webinar. It's on YouTube, some practical tips for managing the emotional toll of 2020. So if you want to check that out and get some self-care tips, that webinar is available. And then this is a busy and bustling time of year. So just taking breaks, taking time to sit down, to allow yourself just to breathe, which on this next slide here, we're going to give you just a few moments tonight to breathe and do just that.
Hey there, and thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes.
sure you guys have sound here. Here we go.
Hey there, and thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes. It's important to remember that you're a priority, and allowing yourself even just a few short minutes of intentional reflection can really have a positive impact on the rest of your day. So let's use these next few minutes to come back to center and set an intention for the rest of your day. Move into a comfortable position, whether you're seated at your desk at work or laying on the couch at home, and gently close your eyes and shift all of your attention onto your breathing, taking slower, deeper breaths than you've taken all day so far. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and slowly letting it out through your mouth. And continuing to breathe that way, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale and contract back in as you exhale. Tune into your body, noticing how it feels. Noticing if there's anything that it's trying to tell you. Notice any place of tension or tightness in your body. And give those areas permission to relax, sending love into those areas. Thank your body for taking such good care of you, and let it know that it's okay to rest and relax for these next few minutes. You may notice that your mind starts to wander off. That's okay. That's natural. Just notice it and bring your attention back to your body, using your breath as your anchor. Try to picture one thing that's happened today that's made you smile, or made you thankful or appreciative. And just let that feeling fill you up for a moment. Breathe that feeling in from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And allow yourself to smile if that feels natural. Now focus on something that you can do today, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, that will allow you to continue feeling this way. It could be something as small as deciding to go to bed early tonight, so that you have time to finally read that book that's been on your bedside table. Or the joy of getting dinner with a close friend. What's one little thing you can plan for your day to bring that intentional joy to it? Now just focus on that for a few minutes. Sit in that feeling of joy and peace. Now let's take a few more deep breaths together. A deep breath in, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale, and everything contract back in as you exhale. Again, an even deeper breath than the one before it, holding that breath for a beat, and exhaling everything out. Last time, your deepest breath yet, sending that breath through your entire body. And exhale it out. And in your own time, slowly bring your awareness back to where you are. And thank yourself for taking these few minutes to just be intentional and kind to yourself. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, so we would love to know in the chat what that was like for you. Have you ever done something like that before? Do you think you'd do it again? Go ahead and let us know. We're curious. And we're going to start to move on because we've got a few more things to cover here before we're finished for tonight. So go ahead and let us know in the chat what that was like for you, and we'll start talking about traditions. So the first thing you're going to want to take a look at is your old traditions, your current traditions. What customs, what things do we do currently, and do they serve us this year as a family? So thinking about things like the meal you're going to have for the holiday or the birthday, whether or not you're going to gather with others if you have in the past, how you give gifts, and then the different family activities or events that you would normally participate in. And once you've taken a look at some of those things and decided whether or not those things are going to work for you this year, maybe you're looking for something new to start. And so we will, in next week's portion of this webinar, talk about in more detail some ideas, things that you can start to do as a family this year. But a couple ideas for you guys now. Giving. So maybe you want to give in your time, your money, your energy, goods, something like that, starting some kind of new tradition that way. Maybe you're going to make something, create something together as a family, arts and crafts, something like that. Or maybe it's doing something. Maybe you're finding things together as a family that bring you joy, that bring you comfort. Maybe that's baking together or making a snowman outside, sledding, anything like that. And again, we'll have some more like tangible ideas for you as far as traditions go as a family that we'll talk about in next week's session.
It's really about overall taking a look at what, as we've been saying, what do we do? What have we done in the past, and what do we want to do this year? Do we want to do the same thing that we've done? Does that bring comfort? Because for some people, that's going to bring comfort, and that's consistency, and I know what to expect, and I like that. And for other people, they may want to do the exact opposite and do none of that, because those thoughts of doing that same plan actually brings pain. And so this is where each family needs to make their own decisions, and there is no right or wrong, like we said earlier. That said, it gets a little bit complicated if not everyone in the family has the same thoughts and feelings on it. And I wouldn't expect that you would, because everyone's grief circumstance, situation, experiences is totally unique and different. Even though you're living in the same household, everyone has their own spot in their own way. And that's where the conversation comes and isn't important. So those new ideas, if you want, whether you want to do the same things as last year or not, the new ideas of let's try something new, let's try something in memory of the person. And like next week's webinar, I'll give you all sorts of more ideas as far as activities you can do, but let's try something different and try something new. So if that brings comfort or hope or care, then follow that. And at the same time, right back to you, Kaylee, we have to accept our limitations.
Accepting our limitations. So again, we just want to let you know that it is okay to say no. We do, accepting your limitations, what you're able to do, what your family is able to do. And then just again, reiterating that this year can be different. You're allowed to make decisions for your family this year that don't need to be the same next year, or even, the next special day or holiday. You're allowed to make these days new opportunities. You can make these decisions and you can change them from day to day, or season to season, year to year. You know what you have in that moment, and your family can make the best of what that is.
Katie shared in the chat that it reminds her of the yoga class that she's been going to since she lost her daughter, that being intentional and mindful has helped her mentally.
Mm,
And it absolutely can.
I love that.
Absolutely can.
Thank you for sharing that. And so the last piece that we'll talk about tonight, which we will really go into a lot of detail on and give you lots of different ideas next Thursday, is ways that we can honor and remember our special person who died this holiday season. So we'll go through a few ways tonight, but if you hang out with us next Thursday evening, you'll find out even more. So we'll start with ways to remember. So the first thing is something that maybe you could create together as a family, a memory box. So the idea with this is that you could use a tissue box and decorate it. You could buy a special box, but leaving that either somewhere in the house, maybe leaving it on your Thanksgiving table, something like that, where people can add memories to it. And then taking a moment, whether it's just your family unit, if people want to do it one by one, if you want to do it all together with your extended family or whoever that is, that you can read through those memories and laugh and share and, express those emotions together. Another way to do this right now with some of our limitations of being together in person is to do it virtually, which is why I put here a memory box or a post. I know that Facebook and things like that are great ways to connect right now. If you create a post on your Facebook wall, you're asking for people to share memories that they have with your loved one. It's a great way to look back, maybe learn a little bit about the person who died and just connect with others. Another thing that you can do is talk about them. So this is one thing I know sometimes we get into this, it can feel almost taboo to, talk about death and people who have died, but to talk about your person who died openly as a family is going to help you share memories and laugh together, all process that grief that all of you are feeling together. And it's important to do that when we're spending time together, obviously being cognizant of what others are comfortable with, but especially for children, it's so important to open up the door to have those conversations about the person who died.
We've had some families who have closed from SandCastles who afterwards have decided that they used to come every Tuesday night, say, and we always have pizza at program when we're in person. And then we break off into groups. And so when they closed their time at SandCastles, they decided to keep having this night at home. So every Tuesday night they would get pizza and then they would talk about their person that died. It was like a set ritualistic time for sharing. And it really worked for their family. It was really a good transition for them to close from our program and kind of keep that memory alive. So it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And then the last way that we'll share tonight, obviously we'll have a lot more next week again, but is to remember them through things that they loved. Maybe baking a dessert together. Maybe it was their favorite sweet. Doing that together as a family, doing an activity. I know we've got skiing here. Maybe they love to ski. Maybe it was, playing video games together or doing something like that. Or just try something new that your special person loved to do. And then our last thing here for tonight is taking time to do things to honor your person who's died. So one thing that we do at SandCastles around this time of year is we start to think about memorials. So we do hold an annual memorial for our families that are in our program, and we do light candles as part of that. What we do, we get some white pillar candles, and what you can do is take a piece of contact paper and cut it down to the size that it'll wrap around the outside of that candle. And then together as a family, you can take that piece of contact paper, decorate it with some Sharpies, write down some memories, maybe a message to the person, and tape it around that candle once you're done. And wherever you decide to put that, showcase it. If you burn it, you can light that candle and burn it brightly in honor of the person that you're remembering. Another thing that you can do is donate, whether that's your time or your money. Maybe your person had a cause or something that was important to them that you could dedicate, donate some time or money to. Again, here I'll just plug the Sandcastles with Giving Tuesday coming up. You could always give to something like Sandcastles if that's something that maybe they were passionate about or you as a family are passionate about. And then the last thing is to give. So maybe that's buying a gift that your person would have loved and opening that together as a family. Maybe that's doing something kind for someone else in their honor. Maybe that's paying it forward, buying the, drink for the person behind you at Starbucks or something like that. Finding ways to give in their honor.
We actually read a story about a family that actually for Christmas bought a suit and a shirt and a tie and everything in their size of the father that had died, and then donated it for someone else. So there's so many ways that you can give, and it can be small. It doesn't have to be that big. Maybe they loved Tic Tacs or something. So maybe everybody in the family at a holiday season gets a Tic Tac in their memory or in their honor. So just lots of different options.
And so we'll go over some more of those ideas next Thursday. We'll have some more interactive pieces, us showing you how to do some hands-on activities that you can do together as a family. So we encourage you to sign up for next Thursday's session if you haven't already. We hope to see you there. We'd love to see you there. And I'll open up the floor right now. I know we've got just a few minutes left. If there are any questions or comments that anyone would like to share. And if not, thank you so much for being here. And we hope you have a great evening and hope to see you next week.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add in as we wait to see if we have any comments is just as we said, remember, be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace, and just take one step at a time. So take our list of questions, sit down with your family and start to talk about what is good, what isn't so good, what is going to work, and what might not. You have lots of options, and there is no wrong answer. So whatever you choose is the right answer at the moment, knowing you can always change it in a week if you need to, or when you walk in the door. And know that you're doing the best that you can with what you got at the moment. That is a phrase I heard years ago, and I've shared it so many times. We are all doing the best we can right now in this moment with what we have. And that's it. And if we learn something different, then we'll maybe do something different. But give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, take care, keep up that mindfulness and that caring and compassion and self-care. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you all and have an awesome evening, and we hope to see you next week.